Hi, everyone. We're going to start today with a warm-up. So if you could pause the video here and try this problem, and then when you unpause it, I'll take you through the solution. So pause the video now, try this problem on your paper. All right, so now that you've tried this problem, let's talk through it. We want the equation of a line with slope 2 and that goes through this point. So we've talked about y is equal to mx plus b, and using the information that we've been given to plug in to what we call slope-intercept form. Here's our slope, m is equal to 2, and then we have a point. Our point is always listed as x comma y, right? So in this case, x is 7 and y is -3. So I can take each of these three values and plug them into the equation. And ultimately, I want to solve for b. So y is -3, m is 2, x is 7, and I want to solve for b. So now we're going to take this equation and solve for b. So -3 is equal to, I can multiply that 2 times 7 and get 14. And then to get b by itself, I have to subtract 14 from both sides, and b is equal to -17. So now I have my slope that they gave me. I have a y-intercept. I put them together into y is equal to 2x minus 17, and there's my equation. So we're going to need to be able to do all that in order to do what we want to ultimately accomplish today, which is, talking about parallel lines. And so we want to talk about parallel lines, and we're ultimately going to be able to write equations of parallel lines. So we're going to start with an investigation. So make sure you pick up the note packet for today. And on the first page, there's this parallel lines investigation. So it says each graph below contains pairs of lines. We want you to calculate the slope of each line. So you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 graphs. But on each graph, you have 2 different lines. So ultimately, you're going to be calculating the slope of 12 lines. And remember, to find the slope of a line from a graph, you can just pick 2 points on the line and count rise over run. So m is equal to rise over run. And that's what I want you to do today. So we're going to pick 2. I'm going to just get you started. I'm going to start at letter A, line 1. We're going to pick 2 points on that line. So I need to make sure that the line intersects the grid marks exactly. So my line kind of goes through those grid marks exactly. It goes through here. It goes through here, here. I don't need all these. I can just pick any 2, but I'm just trying to show you that I have a bunch to choose from. So I'm going to make 2 of these green, and these are the 2 that I'm going to use to count the slope. So rise over run, to go from one point to another, I go up 2, so that's +2. Oh my goodness. And then I go to the right 1. So my slope of line 1 is +2 over +1, or in other words, just 2. All right, so now you're going to repeat this process for all 12 of these lines. And then there's 3 questions down here at the bottom. What do you notice about all the slopes? Do all the slopes fit the pattern? Why or why not? And then you want to write a conjecture about the relationship between the slopes of parallel lines. So really, I want you to say something like, if lines are parallel, then what? You fill in the blank there. So if lines are parallel, then what do we know? Okay, so you're going to pause the video and you're going to take a couple minutes and get this front side done. When you unpause, we'll go over the answers. All right, so let's look at these. Here's my answers. So for letter A, both lines had slope equal to 2. Letter B, both lines had slope equal to 0. C, both lines had slope equal to -3 over 4. D, both lines had slope equal to -1. And then E, both lines had slope equal to 6. And then F, one line, or line 1 was slope equal to 1/2, and line 2 had slope equal to 1. So hopefully you notice that in letters A through E, the lines were parallel and the slopes were the same. My goodness. This is frustrating. Sorry. The same. And then in line F, this one did not fit the pattern. And it's because the lines aren't parallel. And so the lines aren't parallel, so the slopes aren't the same. So letter 4, write a conjecture about the relationship. You want to say something like, if lines are parallel, then their slopes are the same. All right, so that's your parallel lines investigation. So let's kind of formalize this, and you can jot this down in your toolkit or on your note sheet. Here's your definition of parallel lines. So parallel lines are lines that never touch. You're hopefully familiar with parallel lines. You've seen parallel lines before. They never touch. They go on forever and ever, and they're never going to get closer together or further apart. And now we just discovered that parallel lines have the same slopes, but we didn't talk about y-intercepts yet. We also need to note that they are going to have different y-intercepts. So here's an example of parallel lines. Y equals mx plus b. You're going to notice that in both of these lines, the slope is 2, right? So the slope of both of these lines are 2. But if I look at the y-intercepts, the y-intercepts are different. This y-intercept is the point 0, 3, and this one is the point 0, 1. And that's really important. Here's 0, 1, here's 0, 3. That's really important because let's say they both were the same slope and the same y-intercept, then they would be the same line. They would be like right on top of each other, you know? So in order for them to be different lines that are parallel, they have to have different y-intercepts in addition to having the same slope. All right, so if you need to pause the video, you can, and get this all down. All right, so now that we know a little bit more about parallel lines, we ultimately want to be able to answer questions like this. Write the slope-intercept form equation of a line parallel to this line here. So y is equal to -5x plus 4, and going through the point -1, 4. All right, so we know that parallel lines have the same slope, and different y-intercept, right? So I know that if a line is parallel to this one here, its slope is also going to be -5, right? Because y is equal to mx plus b. So the m's have to be the same. So my new slope has to be -5 as well. But I also know that the y-intercept is not going to be 4. So I know that the b is not 4. It's not the same as this one was here. So m is 5, but b is not 4. It's going to be something different. And I also know that this line, my new line, has to go through this point here. So I know that the slope has to be -5, and it has to go through the point -1, 4. And I want to really fast show you a symbol that you should know. When you see this symbol, it's like almost look like 2 straight lines up and down. That means that you have like parallel lines. So if I have this here, I wrote the parallel slope is -5. All right, so now this should look just like the problem in the warm-up. We're going to take this information and plug it into y equals mx plus b. I have m is -5. I'm given an x value, and I'm given a y value. So I'm going to plug them in. So 4 is equal to -5, x is -1, oh my goodness, and then plus b, right? So I have 4 is equal to -5 times -1 plus b. So -5 times -1 is +5. And now I have to solve for b. I'm going to do that by subtracting 5 from both sides. So -1 is equal to b. Now I put it all together because ultimately I want the equation of the line. It's asking me for the equation of a line, right? So I take y is equal to m, so -5x plus b, or in other words, that -1. There's my final answer. So there's my equation of my line that's going to be parallel to the original line up here and going through that point. All right, let's do another problem together. Ready? So number 2, what's the slope-intercept form? Remember, that's like y equals mx plus b. Equation of a line that's parallel to y equals 4x plus 3 and goes through the point 5, 9. So remember, if we want lines that are parallel, they have to have the same slope and a different y-intercept. So the slope of this line here is 4, right? So the slope of this line here is 4, but I know the y-intercept is not going to be 3. It has to be something different. So I need to write the equation with slope 4, and it has to go through this point, x comma y, right? So I take y is equal to mx plus b, and I plug in the information that's given. So y is 9 is equal to m is 4, x is 5, plus b. Now I need to solve for b, or find b. So 9 is equal to 20 plus b. Get b by itself. You got to subtract 20. So 9 minus 20, -11, is equal to b. And now again, ultimately, we're not done. We need to put it all together and write the equation. Y is equal to 4x minus 11. All right. So now that we've done 2 examples together, there's some problems for you to try. Here's just 3 of them, and then there's more in your packet as well. So I want you to get started, check your answers, at least on these first 3 here, and then answer keys are also posted in Schoology for you, so you can check them there too. And there is going to be a note eventually when you get to some of these problems that you might have to do something differently to get the slope. So think about what you might have to do to get the slope of a line if it's not already in slope-intercept form, or in other words, like y equals mx plus b. So I want you to pause the video and try these 3 problems. And when you come back, I'm going to very, very quickly go through these so you can kind of check them. All right, so pause it now and try these 3. All right, so let's quickly go through these, okay? So number 1, slopes are going to be the same. So it's going to be -1/4. Here's my point, x comma y. So I'm going to take this info, plug it in. So y is equal to mx plus b. And use your calculator if you want to, because you're going to have to maybe work with some fractions here. But this should be 4 is equal to -3 plus b. And then to solve for b, I get b is equal to 7. So remember, we want to put it all together. Y is equal to, y is equal to -1/4 x plus 7. That's my final equation. Okay? Number 2, again, same thing. We want the slope, so the parallel slope is -6. Here's my point, x comma y. So we're going to plug in negative 3 is equal to negative 6 times negative 2 plus b. Y equals mx plus b, right? Negative 3 equals 12 plus b. And then solve for b. So putting it all together, y is equal to negative 6x minus 15. In number 3, write the equation of a line that's parallel to y is equal to negative 6x plus 2 that has a y-intercept of 6. So they're actually making it a little easier for you. If they give you the y-intercept, that's your b, you know? And then we want it parallel to this, so the parallel slope has to be negative 6. Put it all together, y is equal to negative 6x plus 6. There's your equation. All right, so again, you're going to continue working on all of the U-Try problems, and you can always check your answers with the answer key that's provided in Schoology. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good day.